Hey there, it's another beautiful day here in Central Texas, and I'm going to do a very short, simple, very fundamental explanation on how to use a traditional gouge. The very first fundamental steps of how you engage the gouge, how you apply it to the tool rest, and then how you engage it into the wood while the wood is actually turning. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it. There's all kinds of information to learn about them, but here's what a traditional bowl gouge basically looks like. And what we're going to talk about today, you're going to hear the term bevel today. And what we're speaking of is this more of a shiny chrome looking part of the tip of the tool. And there you're looking right perpendicular into the side of the tool. And the bevel is this angle right there in front of my knuckle that's kind of going straight up and down in this picture. That's called the bevel. Now, whenever you're using a traditional gouge, there's a very simple statement or saying to help remember the proper techniques for using a traditional gouge, and it's called ABC. A stands for anchor. That's the first step in the process. When you're using a traditional gouge or any wood turning tool, you're going to be applying it to some type of a tool rest. And this is what absorbs all the forces that the turning wood puts into the tool. So the very first thing when you're using any wood turning tool, you need to make sure that you anchor it on the tool rest before it even touches the wood. So what that would look like would be something similar to this. And if you look, the very tip of the tool is not even touching the wood yet. So that's called anchor. And I was sharing this with a neighbor of mine. We turned a pin yesterday, his very first experience turning. And I said, try to always hear that metal clank whenever you anchor. A good solid metal clank lets you know that you're on the tool rest. The very next fundamental step in using a traditional gouge is you want to do what they call ride the bevel. So the cutting part is right out here at the very end. Let me see if I can scoot in a little bit closer and let you see a better picture of that. I apologize if I'm getting kind of all over the place here. Everything's backwards in the camera from what you're used to. So the very cutting part of the tool for this video is going to be this top edge, this tip that's kind of sticking out there. That's the cutting part of the tool. That shiny polished part, the bevel, doesn't do any cutting at all. So after you anchor on the tool rest, you're going to have the handle of the tool way down low to where the tool's pointing up, almost, kind of pointing up in the air, not even pointing towards the wood. So after you anchor, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start lifting the tool handle, which the tool handle's down here, tool handle's down there out of frame. I'll step back here in just a minute and show you this from a further view back. But what you do is you start raising your tool handle until the bevel touches the wood. So now I'm actually touching the wood. But I'm touching it with this bevel part that's not doing any cutting. And the next step in the fundamental use of a traditional gouge is to cut. So we've anchored and we've raised the tool handle until the bevel is touching. And then to cut, you just continuously raise the back of the tool handle. And if you watch, you notice how that tip of the tool, the tip of the gouge, is getting closer and closer to the wood. And you just continue to lift the back of the handle until that tip engages and you start get shavings. And shavings will range anywhere from kind of larger coarse shavings like this to a little bitty fine, what they call angel hair almost. That's this little bitty fine part that I just crushed there. So that's the very fundamental basics of using a traditional gouge. Okay, we've backed up to where you can see the entire tool so you can have a visual reference to understand what I mean a while ago when I was saying about raising and lowering the tool handle. Whenever the tool is resting on the tool rest. The tool rest is a fulcrum. And if you watch, with the tool handle way down in lowered position, the cutting end of the gouge is standing way up in the air. And as I raise the tool handle, it will start to lower the tip of the tool towards the wood. And you'll continue lowering it until you start riding that bevel. And then once the bevel touches the wood, you will continue to raise the handle of the tool, lowering the cutting tip into the wood until you start seeing shavings, and then that's when you know that you've actually started cutting.